How does the US respond to an Iranian drone swarm attack? Well, to pull off a mission like this, the US relies on a mixed force of carrier-based aircraft and guided missile destroyers. The chaos began when radar screens in the US command centers suddenly lit up. Deadly one-way attack drones were flying in fast, tracking straight toward a ship. The US had to launch a counterattack immediately. But how do you stop these drone swarms from attacking permanently? They had to trace the attack back to its source, the port city. This time, the weapon of choice was the Tomahawk cruise missile. Launched from warships out at sea, they slammed into the Iranian launch site, hitting them incredibly hard. But what was the Iranian response? Since they couldn't target the mobile US warships out on the open water, they chose a stationary target instead, a US airbase in Kuwait. And that's when all hell broke loose. In the pitch-black early hours of May 28, 2026, the fragile ceasefire in the Persian Gulf was pushed to the breaking point. A sudden alarm blared across the combat information centers of US warships. 4 Iranian one-way attack drones were airborne, tracking at low altitudes over the waves toward commercial shipping. But as the fleet tracked the skies, a far more critical countdown was happening on the ground. Deep within a compound near the strategic port of Bandar Abbas, a 5th drone was being fueled and prepped on its launch rail. It had less than 15 minutes until ignition. So how did US Central Command track this swarm in the dark? And what precision weapon was used to obliterate the ground control station and drone launchers before that 5th drone could ever leave the rail? For that, we have to look at Part 2, the layered air defense and the aerial intercept. The moment the threat materialized, the US military's layered defense net went live. When dealing with a swarm of low-altitude loitering munitions, specifically showed Series one-way attack drones, seconds matter. These drones are mass-produced and designed to slip beneath standard radar coverage. While heavy land-based strike fighters like the F-15 provide massive firepower from regional bases, they do not operate from aircraft carriers. Instead, the immediate aerial response falls to the carrier strike group's forward-deployed F-18 Super Hornets. Vectoring in at high speed, the Super Hornets locked onto the incoming signatures. Using AIM-9X Sidewinder missiles, highly agile, infrared tracking weapons, the fighters locked onto the heat signatures of the drone's small piston engines. Within minutes, the airborne drones were blasted out of the sky over open water. But shooting them down is only half the battle. To guarantee success against a coordinated swarm, you have to cut the command cord entirely. But the F-18 Super Hornets don't fly these missions alone. They have bodyguards. Trailing just behind the interceptors is an EA-18G Growler inside its rear cockpit. The electronic warfare officer manages a multi-million-dollar electronic jamming suite. You see, these one-way attack drones rely heavily on pre-programmed GPS coordinates or active radio command links to adjust their flight paths. The EWO job is to break that link. They immediately isolate the precise encrypted data streams traveling between the drones and their launch site back on land. By blasting high-powered directional energy bands directly at the targets, the Growler completely severs their connection. Blinded and losing their telemetry, the swarm's coordination instantly collapses. This electronic blinding is what allows the Super Hornets to move in, get an easy lock, and unleash their AIM-9X Sidewinder missiles. But the pilot can also go old school and switch to gun mode. From inside the cockpit, it becomes a game of pure skill. Just align the crosshairs, squeeze the trigger, and shred the remaining one-way attack drones right out of the sky. But the US military need to go to the source of the kill chain, that is the launchers. Erupting from the ship's vertical launch system, the Tomahawk instantly dropped down to low altitude. Flying at subsonic speeds, the cruise missile used advanced terrain contouring radar to hub the landscape, staying entirely below the detection threshold of Iran coastal early warning radars. Guided by GPS and digital scene matching systems, the missile calculated its terminal dive with pinpoint accuracy. It struck the ground control station and the adjacent drone launchers directly, triggering a massive secondary explosion as the fuel and payload of the 5th drone detonated simultaneously. In a single surgical action, the command hub, the launch mechanics, and the remaining threat were entirely vaporized. But the real threat is strategic port of Bandar Abbas. Real-time intelligence from overhead reconnaissance confirmed the worst-case scenario. The primary drone control team wasn't just monitoring the initial targets, they were actively spooling up a 5th drone on a mobile launcher. To prevent a secondary wave without risking manned aircraft inside Iran's heavily integrated air defense networks, Central Command authorized a precision standoff strike. The assignment went to a U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer positioned securely out of range. The Iranian also launched a Shahed-139 drone to target a U.S. Navy strike group, but why launched a $100 million jet to take out a $70,000 drone? In the dead of night, the Navy deployed its most advanced fighter for a mission that looks like total overkill. The USS Abraham Lincoln, a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier, was transiting the Arabian Sea approximately 500 miles off the southern coast of Iran. As seen on this map, an Iranian drone carrier launched a UAV from this position, while the USS Abraham Lincoln was sailing toward the Strait of Hormuz. During this transit, a destroyer within the carrier strike group's defensive network detected an Iranian Shahed-139. It was flying on an aggressive profile directly toward the carrier. Unlike previous incidents where ship-based missiles or close-in weapon systems were used, this interception was unique. It was executed by the carrier's primary air wing, specifically an F-35C Lightning stealth fighter. The engagement began long before the drone was visible to the naked eye. The Lincoln was escorted by Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, which are equipped with the Advanced Aegis Combat System and Spy-1D radar. Simultaneously, an E-2D Advanced Hawkeye was airborne, providing over-the-horizon radar coverage. Radar operators detected a small, low observable contact moving at a consistent speed toward the carrier. The trajectory was flagged as aggressive because it did not respond to standard de-escalatory hails and maintained a collision course with the high-value unit. The contact was identified as a Shahed-139. A medium-altitude, long-endurance, unmanned aerial vehicle capable of carrying guided munitions were acting as a suicide drone. The commander of the carrier strike group chose to intercept the threat at a safe distance rather than letting it get within range of the ship's own defenses. An F-35C Lightning II was vectored toward the target. Utilizing its advanced sensor fusion, the F-35C pilot locked onto the drone from miles away. The pilot's helmet-mounted display projected the drone's location, speed, and altitude directly onto their visor, allowing them to track the target through the clouds and darkness. Once visual confirmation was established and the drone failed to turn away, the rules of engagement for self-defense were met. The pilot received authorization to engage and maneuvered into a firing solution. The pilot fired an AIM-9X Sidewinder air-to-air missile. The missile tracked the drone's heat signature, detonating and destroying the airframe instantly. The pilot performed a battle damage assessment pass, confirming the drone had splashed and was no longer a threat. The carrier continued its transit unharmed. Why did the Navy use a multi-million-dollar F-35C fighter jet to shoot down a relatively cheap drone, rather than using the ship's own guns or missiles? The decision to use an F-35C instead of ship-based defenses comes down to distance and safety. First, naval strategy relies on a concept called defense in depth. Engaging threats as far away from the ship as possible is the priority. If a drone is shot down by the ship's guns, it is already within 2 miles, far too close for comfort. Using a jet allows the Navy to intercept the threat 50 to 100 miles away, ensuring that even if the interception fails initially, there is time for a second attempt. Second, a pilot provides visual identification. The radar blip cannot tell you if a drone is carrying a camera or a warhead. A pilot can fly up to the drone, look at it, and provide better intelligence than a sensor alone. Finally, the presence of a fighter jet is a powerful tool for de-escalation. The pilot can signal a warning, and if the drone ignores it, the intent is clearly hostile, justifying the use of force. If you're looking to upgrade your digital defense system, you need to check out this military-grade VPN. Think of Surfshark VPN as your frontline defense. It scans and detects threats, alerting you to thousands of dangerous emails. Beyond that, it includes a robust antivirus software to shield your devices from viruses, malware, and tracking by ads, bots, or third parties. Finally, with Surfshark VPN, a single subscription covers not just you, but also your friends or even your entire city if you wanted. Go to our link surfshark.com/AITELE. By buying through the promo link, you will get 4 extra months free, assured by a 30-day money-back guarantee. But Iran wasn't about to let the destruction of their drone site go unanswered. And even though the U.S. strike on Bandar Abbas was devastating, Iran still had roughly 30 to 40% of their missile launchers completely intact. So how do you hit back at the most powerful military on Earth? Well, you target their allies, specifically the U.S. Air Base in Kuwait. This wasn't just a random attack. It was a massive show of force to prove to the world that despite taking a heavy beating, Iran still has plenty of fighting power left. Iran's military strategy for targeting U.S. air bases in the Middle East would likely rely on a coordinated, multi-domain approach. By combining its missile arsenal, drone capabilities, and proxy forces, Iran aims to overwhelm American defenses and inflict significant damage. Among the high-value targets, Iran would likely prioritize our Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, naval support activity NS at Bahrain, multiple U.S. military bases in Iraq, and Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates. This approach reflects Tehran's broader strategic objectives, deterring U.S. military intervention, retaliating decisively in the event of conflict, and asserting its influence across the region. One of the most probable targets in a direct confrontation is Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. As the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East, it hosts around 8,000 American troops and serves as the regional headquarters for U.S. Central Command. The base plays a crucial role in supporting air operations across the region and is a central pillar of the U.S. military presence in the Gulf. To strike Al Udeid and similar bases, Iran could deploy ballistic missiles such as the Fateh-110, which has a range of about 300 kilometers, or the Qunan-1, capable of reaching up to 800 kilometers. If it uses a proximity fuse, it may detonate just above the surface, airburst, to maximize fragmentation and increase the affected area. We make original videos from scratch, so please do subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos.